Who remembers the 80s? I know I do. And the most popular dessert ever made. We're going to make that today. Hello family, welcome back. I am Vicki and you are with Grammy in the kitchen. So today we're going to make a dessert that was very popular in the 80s. Every mom, grandmother made this dessert either for a family function, a church gathering, or just because. We're going to make a chocolate poke pudding cake. I'm going to name this one a triple threat chocolate poke pudding cake, because we're going to have chocolate cake, chocolate pudding, and a delicious chocolate frosting, all made from scratch, all made in this kitchen today. Now if you saw the video last week where we made pudding cups, I gave some to the grandkids and they loved it. The husband ate one, because that's all that was left. And he said the pudding was delicious. I ate the butterscotch because, well, it's my favorite pudding. The husband is a major chocolate fan. So that's why we're doing the triple threat chocolate poke pudding cake. Because we're going to please the husband today. Without further ado, let's get started. Aprons on. So I have a normal size casserole dish, a glass dish. You can use aluminum pans, you can use stainless steel pan, it doesn't matter. Glass is what I have, glass is what we're going to use. Let me go ahead and get the oven on 350 so it can start warming up. And we need to go ahead and butter and flour our baking dish. Grab a little bit of butter, maybe a teaspoon. And I'm just going to get this pan all buttered and floured. Set it aside while we work on the cake. We're going to put a couple tablespoons of flour. Make sure we get the side walls as well as everything else. Alright, now we need to dump out any excess. Our baking dish is ready. I have a bowl with a wire mesh strainer, 2 cups of flour, 2 cups of sugar, 3/4 cups of cocoa powder. And then we're just going to sift this through. Because I'm using a raw organic cane sugar, they're a little bigger, but that's okay. We're just going to dump that in there. We really just wanted to make sure we had the flour and the cocoa sifted. In this bowl I have 2 teaspoons of baking powder, 1.5 teaspoons of baking soda, and 1 teaspoon of salt. In this measuring cup I have 1 cup of milk and 1/4 cup of coffee that was brewed this morning, and I stuck a cup in the refrigerator to let it cool, because you want to start with cold coffee. We're going to blend this. We're going to add 1/2 cup of coconut oil and 2 eggs and 1 cup of boiling hot water. It's milky because it's in the same measuring cup that the milk and the coffee was in, but it's okay. We got this. And 2 teaspoons of vanilla. Now this is going to be a very loose batter, but it will come together. We're going to pour this into our prepared pan. Make sure we scrape this bowl and get all this goodness out of here. Now we're going to put this in the 350-degree oven for about 35 to 40 minutes until when we put a toothpick in it, it comes out clean. I'll let you know for sure how long it took in my oven. Now while the cake is in the oven baking, we're going to go ahead and make our pudding. If you want to see the video from last week for the pudding cups, I'll put it somewhere up in here in the iCards. You could go check that video out, but we make our pudding homemade with real ingredients. Our pudding has to cool off before we can pour it on the cake, but not cold. We don't want to have it solidify. We just want it cool, because if it's too thick, it won't go down into the holes we're going to poke. But if it's too thin, it'll just seep through the whole entire cake, and we don't want that. We want to control where we're putting our pudding. So let's move over to the stove and get started on that pudding mix. In the saucepan, I have 1 cup of sugar, a half a cup of baking cocoa, or just cocoa, a 1/4 cup of cornstarch, and a pinch of salt, or a half teaspoon of salt. And we're going to slowly mix in 4 cups of milk, whisking as we go. We're going to boil it for 2 minutes. And then we're going to add 2 tablespoons of butter, cut up into 8 small pieces, adding 1 piece at a time until all the butter is melted. And then we're going to add 2 teaspoons of vanilla. Alright, we are boiling. Time starts now, 2 minutes. Do not walk away, because it will boil over and make a mess. I can tell you right now, the cake is not done. That has been 30 minutes. I'll keep you posted. The cake came out of the oven. Put a toothpick in the center and it came out clean. I lied to you guys. It took 47 minutes. So I would say around 40 minutes, check, because every oven is a little different, but it shouldn't take no more than 50 minutes. But our cake smells delicious. So we're just gonna let this sit here and cool off. Our pudding is cooling off. Once everything's cooled off, we'll go ahead and move on to the poke part of this triple threat chocolate poke pudding cake. Okay, the cake has cooled off for us to be able to touch the pan. So now we're going to go ahead and put our pudding on it so it can go down in the holes. Then we're going to refrigerate it for at least 30 minutes before we go ahead and put our icing on. You want something that's round when you're poking holes. So you don't want them too big and you don't want them too small. So we're just going to go in here and just poke some holes about every inch apart. They do not have to be perfect. This is probably about a 1/2 inch piece of stick that's on this spatula. And now our pudding. We're just stirring that just a bit. Might not take all of this, but that's okay. We'll have pudding as a snack tonight. I'm going to try to force it down into those holes. I'm just moving the pudding around on top of the cake. Trying to make sure we get it in all the holes. That is good. So it took about 1/3 of the pudding mix. So we're going to put this in the refrigerator, let it cool off completely before we put our frosting on there. The leftover pudding, I'm just going to stick that in a bowl and also put that in the refrigerator. Now we're going to go ahead and get started on the frosting. So in the bowl I have 1 cup of butter, 3 cups of powdered sugar, and 1/4 cup of cocoa powder. This is some coffee that I had in the refrigerator. We're going to add 1 tablespoon of cold coffee and a teaspoon of vanilla. And we're going to mix this together until it's a smooth consistency. Just until everything is mixed together. Just adding a little bit more coffee just to thin it out just a bit. Alright, that looks good. Here's our cake with our pudding. Good, good, good. Try to smooth this out with. Alright, let's go ahead and cut into this. I'm going to go ahead and take the husband his slice. And now we're going to taste it. That is so good. Now the next time you need to take something for a potluck at church or for a family gathering, holiday dessert, you've got to try the triple threat chocolate poke pudding cake. It's so good. Well, if you would please go ahead and give this video a thumbs up. While you're at it, go ahead and subscribe. I would love to have you part of the Grammy family. So I'm going to sit here and enjoy my dessert. And until next time, y'all have a blessed day. Bye, family. I really want to share this with you guys.